Right. And
with
there
a
are
house per corner.
major houses and then there's more minor houses. So
Yes.
that's you start your character creation by literally creating your house. Now, a lot like Star Trek or whatever, the house is your spaceship. You're hoping that every player at your table is all going to be part of that same house.
Yeah, that would be awesome, but maybe not. Zoom in a little bit here. There we go. So here we go. There are a couple of kinds of houses. House type. Now tell us about the house types.
So, I mean, you have the like the nascent house types, which are basically smaller houses under a house minor. House minors they're just they're not major players, but they're necessary gears and cogs, like you said, in the machine. They may be responsible for creating wool, or they may be responsible for creating metal for spaceships and things like that. And then you have major houses that will control several smaller houses. So try to think of like dukes and a fiefdom and all of
Right.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So these are all. If you wanted to equate them to nobility, these are all levels of nobility. Like a nascent house would be the lowest level of nobility, viscounts, stuff like that. A minor house would be a baron or a baroness, and a major house would be a duke or a duchess
right.
type level. And then you have great houses, which are cousin to the prince, or you
Right,
know
but they're not emperor. That
no,
that
no,
is
they're not
only
the
by
they're
one
not.
person.
Yeah, yeah, they're if you're not of House Carino, you can't be the emperor, but you can control several planets and be considered uh uh one of the greatest royalty. Like I am second cousin to the king through marriage of houses. You would be a great house.
Right. So it's interesting because you get to choose the type of house that you want to start out with. And if you wanted to start out with one of the great, a cog in one of the great houses, then that sets up how much threat that per player that the game master starts with. So
Oh,
to talk again about the 2D20 system, the 2D20 system is a roll under skill system. So
yeah.
you have a stat, and then you have a target number. You roll 2d20 dice, and you hope that one of those dice gets under that target number for a success. As you start to build successes, you get to start doing some really cool and awesome things. And but if you fail a test, it's called the complication. Basically, it's like a critical fail. But if you build momentum, which would be in like a D&D game would be a critical success, then
Basically, it's like banking
yeah,
extra successes.
yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to play one of the outlying houses, one that's not important, then the game master starts with no threat. But up to a great house, you at 3 threat per player.
Wow. Okay. So this is really delving deep into political intrigue, because the more important you are, the more people want your head.
Right. And the
Yeah.
more that the
So
game
if you
master could
start with a
use that.
nascent house, you're like, whatever, no one cares about you. You're a merchant, basically. You
Right.
know,
And
no one gives a shit.
and then down a little lower than that, if you wanted to flip to the next page, it talks about domains.
And what is a
Domains
domain?
domains are basically like areas of expertise. Well, oh yeah,
Oh,
if you
like
look
you were
on
talking about
there,
earlier, maybe there's a nascent or minor house that is a
right.
textile, you know, specialty or whatever.
Correct, and what that does is that gives you access to certain assets. Assets in this game can be anything from equipment to a person to house goods and things like that. So
Sure.
we'll get into assets a little later. Things are going to get a little abstract from here on out, but that's the nature of Dune.
Okay. All right. So so you get to choose. Now, Does it seriously say that the player gets to choose, or does the game master have the ability to know I'm going to place you in a Nacian house or a minor house or a major house?
Both. Again, I mean, you can if you wanted to be part of a house major or a great house, then for me personally, that would be up to the game master's discretion.
Mhm.
But if the players wanted to create a nascent house or they wanted to create a minor house, then one that doesn't have all that much influence, I would let them and I would allow them to name it. But again, if they wanted to be part of House Atreides or House Harkonnen, that's different.
Yeah, that's going to take a lot of mental gymnastics from the game master to make that work. If you are part of a great house,
Right. So well, if you were part of the great house, then you could be the chef in a kitchen on some
yeah,
world someplace and all that kind of stuff. So, but again, those are established houses.
right.
Possibly,
Yeah,
possibly.
yeah, yeah. Minor functionary in a major house. Yes, exactly. Yeah, you're head chef, or you are the second in charge of security for this particular compound. Whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
So
you can be
on
that.
the on the next page, what you'll see like areas of expertise, which gives you access to machinery, produce, expertise, workers, understanding, and each one of these lists out what that characteristic, that area of expertise gives you during play.
Okay, each area of expertise is divided in the following sections: machinery, produce, expertise, workers, and understanding. Machinery is any large-scale machinery or devices that might be created either by an area of expertise or help craft or maintain an area of expertise. So again, your house can specialize in these things, like
Right.
uh, basically, I'm house plumbing,
Right.
or I'm house master electrician.
Right, and then
Okay.
if your house is great enough, then the area of expertise is they make ornithopters or they make spice harvesters.
Whale fur. I'm I'm house Japanese whaler.
Yeah, sure, why
There you
not?
go.
I mean,
I mean, you'll be
descendants
a
of
minor house because whales aren't found everywhere, but okay.
no space whales.
But yeah, it's the same thing. It's the idea. I get it. I get it. Artistic domains may not be very powerful, but they grant the house both fame and respect across the universe. Okay, I get that. I get that. Yeah, I mean, if your house just is uh, ornamentary masonry, or acrylic artists
Right.
or poets or musicians, you won't have a lot of political power, but you'll have a lot of political protection because other houses will get clout having having bought your items, or having you over, you know, for events and stuff like that. You are useful in propping them up, therefore you are important.
Right, and if you actually look under the artistic house, everybody's why would you want to be an artistic house? But the machinery that you have access to are stage effects and scenery pieces and sound systems. So
Mhm.
your character would then have knowledge of these things,
Yeah.
or they would have access to. You could take stage effects and use them as deception assets,
Yes.
and then you could also have expert playwrights. Let's say you wanted to create a piece that smears some other house, then this would be where that kind of stuff plays out. Whereas a house that is espionage is they're just completely in that realm of they train assassins in espionage. Or farming, you control farming equipment. So let's say you're part of that house and you're on Arrakis and the spice harvester breaks down, well then you would have access to assets to fix that machinery.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, got it. All right. So if you're making your own house, then you get to choose one or more of these focal points depending on how big of a house you are allowed to make.
Right. And then in the back of the book, before the character sheet, is the house creation sheet.
Okay, got it. All right. Espionage or assassination. Personally, I wouldn't want to be a house specializing in assassination. Sure, you'd be useful, but no one wants to have you over for dinner.
No, but you never know. The House Harkonnen may call upon your house occasionally to deal with problems of a major house.
Oh, any house, the emperor could call on you
Yeah,
for frick's sake. I mean, come on. I
right,
mean, it's an important job. It's just not one that you're not gonna get any friends. You're not gonna have a lot of friends. Like, what do you do? Oh, I kill folk for a living. Don't worry, it's not
right.
personal.
So, but then again, most of the universe may not even know about your house, and that
There
may
you go.
be on purpose.
Example: as a house minor, House Mole has two domains, one primary and one secondary. For a primary domain, the player group decides to have an artistic area of expertise. They chose poetry. Produce, making their home world a haven for the arts, where those accepted in their poetry groups are renowned for creating the most incredible verses in the universe. For their secondary domain, the group decides to branch out into assassination and picks assassins from the Canley area of expertise. The group decides that many of their poetry schools are actually a front for training assassins who are also taught to kill with certain poetic elegance. Okay, so yeah, you're a secret assassin guild, basically.
Right,
Okay,
exactly.
so yeah, people you're trying to kill will invite you into their house.
right, to entertain them, to write
Exactly, that's
poetries,
great.
to do, as you're painting a portrait of the great Duke, you kill him. It's just it's creating a house is so awesome in this and so interesting. I mean, you can sit down and just create houses all day long. In addition to creating characters.
Sure. And the house is just as important as the character because both of them, are going to work with each other. Homeworld. Now that you know a little about what your house does, you can detail a little more about its home planet and its coat of arms. I don't think we have to get into a huge thing. I'll just read the example.
Yeah.
House Mole controls a string of large islands on the home planet of their house major. The islands have a variety of features that might inspire the poets who travel around them. The people are generally happy, but the islands are sparsely populated with fishing villages and only one main town where the noble House Mole live. Hidden away on several islands are their secret assassin schools, disguised as more fishing villages. Okay, it just fleshes out how how your people live,
right,
and explains how they do what they do.
Right, banner and arms. You get to create your own banner and arms.
Yeah, you got emblem, whatever.
So this is the first time that we've ever seen traits, and traits are important. So just the example of that is House Mole has a single primary domain. It's well-regarded poetry. So this is a trait artistic. As the house hides its assassination training camps and is looking to create a new name for itself, the group decides that the house has been plotting for some time, gaining the trait secretive as the reputation of its house. So, and we'll get more into traits under character creation, but it's the traits and assets that drive the game.
Okay, well, this reminds me of Star Trek Adventures, where you can gain and lose traits through role play, and you can gain and lose traits during the organic character generation by events and stuff like that. And so if you have the trait secretive, what does that do for you? Well, we'll find out later. But on page 102 is where the traits are, and we will talk about that in a minute. What about roles? What's a role?
Roles are basically like archetypes. So it
kind of classes
or character classes, right?
Yeah.
So
okay.
You could be a ruler, you could be a consort, you could be an advisor, chief physician, counselor, envoy, an heir. I mean, you could be the eldest son of a minor house or a nascent house. You can also be a marshal, scholar, one of their spy masters. You can be the sword master that teaches a great house.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, or war master.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Max has a lot of knowledge. Whale fur is how the Harkonnen made themselves a major house. I did not know that. And House Atreides on Caladan, which is their main planet, were rice farmers.
I do remember that. It's the whale fur is the one that I don't remember. But yes, I
Yeah.
do remember that Caladan they were rice farmers, and that's because it rained almost all the time. It
Yeah,
was always
Caladan
raining.
was the basically the opposite of Arrakis. If you tried to find a planet that was the opposite of Dune, Caladan would be it.
Right, and the first couple of pages of the book are it's Paul Atreides trying to imagine what a planet without water is.
Yeah, because it would literally be an alien idea to him. All right. So the role, importantly, into the house, many of them intend to distinguish themselves eventually, blah, blah, blah. It's not quite time for your player characters to ascend this high, but one day they will. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. All right, let's move along. Oh, that's way move. Okay. Ruler, current leader of the house, bears its name and surname. Consort, you spoke on this. These are the roles you can choose to have in the beginning of the game.
And then it gives you an example of the rights and responsibilities of
Right,
each.
of each one, right. The ruler has complete control over the house, and everyone must obey their commands. However, running the house takes all their time, and if they fail in or ignore their duties, the house quickly falls apart. Consort. Consort is the spouse, concubine, or companion of the ruler, but either cannot or will not take on the role of ruler themselves. In some cases, the relationship is purely a business one, but many rulers and consorts do love and care deeply for each other, say Duke Leto and Lady Jessica from the books. The rights and responsibilities of a consort are here. We don't need to really
Right. So this is almost like in Star Trek Adventures, you have a starship. These are each of your positions on
the positions,
that starship.
either on the bridge, engineering, medical, whatever. Yeah.
Right.
This is it. You get to choose all this. And air is probably the highest. Just like in Star Trek Adventures, I wouldn't let anyone play the captain, but the first officer would be the highest rank I would allow as a player character. And if I were to run this game, the highest position I would allow is air.
Yeah, because the air isn't quite. I mean, an air can die and it's not going to collapse a house.
Yeah. It's not going to collapse the house or anything, but the air does have responsibility. Oh, here we go. Hiker Wolfsbane became a YouTube member. Thank you very much, Hiker Wolfsbane. Outstanding. In STA, the captain feels like it would be the GM. No, you don't have to, but I feel like it should. And so I wouldn't let anyone be a ruler. The highest would be an heir.
Okay. So
wait. Wolfsbane says, I'm a bit late, so I won't be caught up by the time the stream ends. Don't worry. You are a YouTube member now. You can see this stream in its entirety starting probably later today. Won't be caught up by the time stream, but I got my first job out of college. Congratulations. So you have some money. Well, congratulations to you.
Give that money back to
college and you got a job, hopefully in the field that you studied in. And now you got some spending money. You're at the beginning of the American dream. Congratulations and good luck to you.
The most important, so these are the positions within the house that you can be.
Yes.
The next section deals with another very important part of the house, and that is enemies to the house.
Enemies to the house. Okay, that seems bad. Finally, we would be remiss not to mention that your house will have enemies. Even the most pleasant and honorable house has someone that hates them. Because this is Dune, no one can be universally elected. This might be for some imagined slight or a belief that they're not as they appear, but it might just as easily be because they really are honorable and decent and despised for that. One often sees their own failings in the face of one's enemy. Okay. I get that.
And again, just like the choosing the level of your house and the amount of threat that the game master starts with, choosing the level of your house also chooses how many enemies that your house has.
Right.
So if you're a nascent house, you're probably not going to have any enemies.
You're not important enough for anyone to hate you.
Right. You may pick them up as you go along.
Oh, during play, especially. I mean, if you do well, if you and your gaming troop do well and progress your house, and it goes from nascent to minor, doing so will piss off another minor house.
Right. And if you look down at Great House, you have one great house and two minor house or two major houses and a host of smaller houses that want you out of the picture.
Yeah. So such is the fate of House Atreides.
And then there's reasons why you can roll on the table or you can choose the reasons why, such as this house just dislikes you, they're a rival, they have loathing, or they have been hired to take your house at. That's the
Right,
Canley.
the Canley one. Yeah, they've been hired to assassinate you or someone in your house.
Right, and then the other table, which is on the next page, talks about the reasons.
Oh,
So,
and the reason they hate you. Okay.
right, competition, slights. You owe another house a debt.
Yeah, or you help my enemy, therefore I hate you.
Right, or
The friend of my enemy is my enemy.
correct, or 10,000 years ago, one of your house killed the pig of another house, and now it's an ancient feud.
It's the Hatfields and McCoys, man. What's going on?
It very well could be. So
No reason. No one knows why these houses are rivals, including them. They just are. They just are. That's that pig thing. Like we forgot why.
well, that's the funny
but
thing.
they're
If you
dicks.
look at this, if you roll a 19 to 20 on the die, it's just no reason. The house just doesn't like you.
Yeah, they don't like you. They just don't like the cut of your jib.
Right, exactly.
That's fine. That's fine.
So,
Let's read the example.
yep.
As a house minor, House Molay has only one enemy, which they decide to call House Arcturi. In determining the degree of hatred, the players roll a 12, meaning that the houses loathe each other. Next, they determine the reason for the hatred and roll a 9, indicating a difference in morality. As House Molay are both poets and assassins, the players side their enemy is quite religiously puritanical. Well, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? I would not like an assassin guild right off the bat either.
Right.
After some deliberation, the players and game master decide that House Arcturi has uncovered rumors about House Molay training assassins, and so believe them to not be only a force for artistic decadence, but corruption as well. Okay. All right. It says, Mr. Max says, the Harkonnen hates the Atreides since the Battle of Carino. The Harkonnen fled and brought shame on themselves while the Atreides remained and saved the day, gaining glory. Now, is this all the way back at the Jihad, the Butlerian Jihad? Because that was the formation of House Carino was actually Butler was the name of the head of that house, and he changed it to Carino after the war. So if it was that far back, that is a long time. That's 10,000 years ago. That's a long time to hold a grudge.
Right. So that on that note, that could either be ancient feud, morality, or even jealousy. Harkonnen is just jealous of the favor that House Atreides.
Yeah,
shown.
one's either going to be ancient feud or jealousy. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Because there was no competition after that. Oh, more art.
Yeah, and it's great art too.
Oh yeah,
it's really, really good art.
Oh yeah, this is nice.
What I like about it is that it's almost like concept art from the movies, while not being concept art from the movie.
Yeah, this seems like it is a portrait of a scene in the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries.
Right, and this is Paul looking out on.
That could be Leto. I don't know. It could be. The beginning.
It could be. Yeah. Exactly.
Looking out at Arrakis, because this is the Great Wall around the city. That the reason you build a city surrounded by giant mountains is because this place is a desert and sandstorms are everywhere. This is a sandstorm shield right here. That's what that is.
And then hard rock protects the city from below from sandworm attacks.
Exactly. Yes. And geography, just like any house, it's location, location, location. Okay, now we finally get to creating your character.
Right. So based on everything that you did with your house, you can start creating your character. Now it's interesting because they talk about who are you within the house. That was talked about before.
Right.
And they say that there's two ways of creating a character. You can create it during play, which I don't know. I haven't figured out what that is yet. Is it a level zero funnel? Is it, what is it? But or you can just roll on tables just like any other 2d20 game,
Sure.
and you can come up with your character. So I haven't dug too deeply into the second method.
Okay. So you get to choose notable, minor, major, non-player characters. Who are you? Scion of the house. You're kin to the house's rulers and may even be a potential heir to the house. Mentat advisor, Bene Gesserit agent, swordmaster, physician. So these are basically all the classes that the player characters can have. Ideally,
Right.
they would be in the same house because having them in different houses would be problematic for the game master at best.
Right.
So they'd all be in the same house, and one of them could be the heir, and then the heir's mentat advisor, the heir's swordmaster trainer, and the royal physician, blah blah blah, stuff like that. So yeah, you got all of these classes, cleric, wizard, fighter, paladin, whatever. Yeah, they all equate somewhat. So I get it. Okay, that's cool. Smuggler, Fremen warrior. If you are on Arrakis, a Fremen warrior, because
Which is interesting.
Oh, really? Go ahead.
So, because if you're playing a minor house or a major house that happens to be on Arrakis, they would need. So you could play a Fremen warrior who is tied to the house, but doesn't necessarily trust the house.
Right.
So they're a liaison between the Fremen people and the house.
Okay. All right. You're a hardened survivor, well versed in water discipline and the other necessary skills for living on Arrakis. You have little reason to trust off-worlders, but circumstances may lead you to stand beside them for a time. Okay, so it's the up to the characters and game master to figure out a reason why the Fremen warrior is in the group. Basically,
Right.
a good
Unless you're
justification.
unless you're playing an entire house of Fremen.
Yeah, then that would be a different thing. Right. And house officer, conveying orders to soldiers, fighting. Okay, that's okay. Two methods, and the one you play, planned creation and creation in play. It's the creation in play part that sounds like the organic one, like go with the flow
Yeah.
as you go on, and that seems like it's going to be a big thing.
Right, because a lot of this is created. A lot of things are created at the table.
Yeah, you make fewer decisions. You only make a few
Right.
key choices, such as archetype, coupled with your skills, one of your drives, and one drive statement, and leave the rest blank on your character sheet. The rest of the details will be defined once play has begun. I personally do not like this form of character creation. It gives too much agency to the player, and
Boy, are you in
it
for a world of surprise.
yeah, world of surprise. Yeah, everyone, F for no, everyone in chat put S for shock, right? No, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of something like this, just because I firmly believe that the game master and the player should both have complete input with each other in creating a character for day one. I mean, they should both be on the same page. And using this kind of thing means it leaves too much up to chance. And the player could get screwed, the game master could get screwed, or both could get screwed just because of circumstance.
So, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But
Okay, Max
go ahead.
has a question. Does the game assume most of the play will happen on Arrakis? From what I understand, and I'll let Crafty correct me if I'm wrong, this main book is the era of play is just before to and including the original novel Dune, and it fleshes out those houses and Arrakis more carefully than anywhere else. So it's kind of telling you to be somehow on Arrakis, but not telling you where to put yourself.
yes, that is true. However, that being said, all of the action is going to be centered around Arrakis, like you said, right? But let's say you're a war master, or you're part of the basically the table of the head of the house and everything like that.
Mhm.
You can actually do all of your play from your home world and affect stuff on Arrakis through assets.
Okay.
That's very, very weird and abstract, and I'll explain it once we get through character
Okay.
creation.
Now for something like that, you have to have a consensus with the group that you're playing with that this is going to be political intrigue type stuff. That if you want
Right.
to do stuff like this, then everyone's got to agree because some people may be super turned off by things like that.
But it might not just be political intrigue. You could be a general, an off world general, and still be able to use assets on Arrakis and still be able to do combat. It's just you wouldn't be doing combat with your character. You'd be doing combat with the people that your house controls. Again, that goes back to that when you're creating the house and you have the produce, the people, and all of that kind of stuff. That's important.
Mhm. All right. Well, wow. All right. That's still too deep for me, but
It,
all right.
it is, and when we get into conflicts, it's explained much better because conflicts go from personal to skirmish to warfare.
Okay. The basic rules overview, just like you said, the basic 2d20 thing is that you have a task to accomplish. Your specific skill in that, and maybe also an attribute added together, is the target number that you have to roll on 2d20 dice to either equal or get under to be considered a success. Usually, one success means you succeed at the task. More than one success usually means you can bank that as momentum, something for the future if you're in trouble or you need more dice or you need more successes or you need a little help here or a little help there, stuff like that. And of
Right.
course you can ask the game master for momentum, but that will give the game master threat to use against you and your party either immediately or later on.
Correct,
That's
and you
the
can also
basic
buy.
2d20 deal.
Yeah, yeah. You can buy threat from the game master to hopefully get enough successes to start pooling momentum,
Right.
and then things go on. Things go on from there. So how do you know then? How do we know that what dice to roll? Well, those are your skills. Okay, and your skills and your drives. Now, skills are very much like any skill in any game.
Yeah.
Drives
Battle,
and
communicate, discipline,
right,
understand, move. The
right.
skills in a 2d20 system equate better to attributes in other systems, right?
No, actually, you'll notice that drives are better, are more attributes. Skills
Oh, really?
are, yeah, yeah. Skills are abilities and things like that you
Oh,
can
okay, got it.
use. Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of reversed. Like if you were to take a look, at the battle skill. Okay, the battle describes skill at arms, their awareness of danger, their underlying tactics and strategies, and their knowledge of tools, techniques, and history of combat. That's such a
That's
wide.
huge. That's
Yeah.
so broad.
Right. So you use battle when you fight or when you seek to avoid danger, when you plan battle, and when you try to recall some fact about a method of history of conflict. So
Okay,
you,
so
yeah.
so this skill
Hmm.
is actually a p is not only um battle tactics, hand to hand training, but it's also like military war college training and a master's degree in war history,
Yeah,
all
correct.
rolled into one.
All rolled into one. So how do you know what you specialize in under skills? It then goes to focuses. Okay, focuses are
Right
something
here.
that's
Yeah.
in all 2d20,
Yep.
right? You get to choose these are all examples of battle focuses, and I mean the list is extensive.
Right. Oh yeah. Unarmed combat tactics, strategy, atomics, assassination, dueling. Yeah.
Right.
And
And
these are all
so,
examples, right? I mean,
right.
you and the game master can come up with another type of focus.
Exactly. Like if you were a master strategist, or you understood the layout of Arrakis enough to where you know that putting my troops here and not here is going to work out better in at the end of the battle. And so that would be that. But in putting that focus in that, okay, if Fade came up to you and wanted to duel you with a knife, you wouldn't know what to do.
You would have absolutely no ability in that.
No, you would, but you wouldn't be able to use your focus.
No, and how? Excuse me. How does your focus affect your target number?
So I this is where I'm still getting a little. I don't know if it. This is the abstraction that I was talking about. It's because like let's take a look at battle focuses, okay? And you're dueling.
Well, hang on.
Because
Let's just
oh
read
yeah,
the
there's
focuses, right? Let's just read
yeah.
this. A character's skills are broad, as we know, because the skill is very broad and encompassing. And each character has a selection of focuses which allow you to demonstrate their specialties and the kinds of advanced expertise that comes with specialization training or hard-won experience. A character has one or more focuses for each skill rated at 6 or higher. Now, how do you it says here a skill rating of 4 is you lack training or knowledge in this field at all.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you okay, yeah, this thing isn't really
No, so this chapter puts the cart before the horse.
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
It talks about what to do before it tells you how to do it.
Right. So this chapter right here is sort of the overview of character creation, and then the next chapter is planned character creation and talks about what your skills are, what your focuses are, and then and gets into all of that. I mean, it's this is what, like 2 or 3 pages just of, hey, this is basically an overview, and then the later chapters dive into it.
Okay, yeah.
So
Again, yeah, I don't like it when books do that. I've seen
I
this
don't
before.
either,
Yeah, I've seen
because
this
it does it.
before, and it's just confusing. But a character has one or more focuses for each skill rated at 6 or higher. Okay, so you have to have a 6 or higher. You are well trained, or you have a basic training of some experience, and then you can choose a focus in that broad skill. Great, got it. Don't know how to get a 6 yet, but
Right.
when I do, I can take a focus in it. These focuses increase characters' chances of scoring a critical success on tests using that skill. It doesn't give you a better target number. It increases your chance of a critical success.
Right.
There's no
So
singular
it,
fixed list of focuses. Focuses can be chosen freely during character creation, for there are innumerable areas of expertise within the specializations, and I understand why they did that. In play, while you receive focuses for particular skills, they may be used on any skill test where they might reasonably be appropriate. A skill focus is listed alongside simply as a skill most likely to use that focus. Where a focus requires you to specify something in particular, marked with an asterisk, you may only apply your focus to that particular choice, but you may take the focus multiple times to have a collection of different specialties. Okay, we got a question here. Indigo Dragon, if the character is using a focus with a skill, the character gets an extra success if the D20 rolls equal to or under the skill rating of the skill being used. I think. Is that true? How does
I haven't
focus work?
I haven't so I haven't quite figured that out yet, because again, so you have skill focuses, and then you have drive statements, and I'm getting confused as to which one lowers the difficulty and which one gets you the extra success. It's one or the other.
Okay, well, it says right off the bat that the focus that test requires skill. There's no skill.
Yeah,
Increase
it's
the
so
chances of scoring a critical
okay.
success. Now, how do you
Okay.
score a critical success?
You roll under your focus.
You roll under your focus.
So
So,
so essentially, okay, so just like any other 2d20, okay? If you roll a 1, that's a critical success, okay? If you have a specific focus in battle, such as if you're in a knife fight and
mhm.
you're using dueling as your focus and you have a skill of 6, then rolling under a 6 would net you 2 successes.
Okay, so a critical success will get you more successes. That's what it means.
Right, right. So,
Okay.
but again, what this is you choose a skill and you choose a drive, and that is your target number. And then if you roll under your focus, under your skill
Equal to
focus,
or under, or just under?
just well, I always do under.
Okay. All right. Okay. Got it. Okay, so when we get to drives, we will make sure that our assumption is true, and it will actually increase your target number to make it easier to make, because it seems like focuses increase your number of successes as long as you roll low enough.
Right. So everybody in Dune carries a knife on them. So everybody can duel. Okay,
Sure.
but just are you good at it?
Are you focused in it or not? Right.
Right. So
Okay.
skipping to
That
drives.
this guy's having a bad day.
He is having a bad day.
Bad times. Now the drives. Okay, first before you get it, let me read it to see see if we can all figure this out together. A character's inner life motivates and defines their actions. Whenever it starts with the character's inner life as the first sentence is not great. A character's drives thus shape the things they do and how successful they are at those things. A character is more likely to succeed when they believe strongly in something and less likely when they are indifferent. Okay, sure. I'm behind that. But those strong drives can also lead a character into trouble or lead them to take ill-advised actions. Okay? Each character has a rating in each of 5 drives, which are described below. Drives are added to the character's skills to derive the target number when they attempt a test, but they also define why a character is taking action and what drives them to succeed. A character's most important drive is rated 8. The second is rated 7. The rest are 6, 5, and 4. Which drive applies to a test is usually defined by which drive statement applies to the action. But sometimes players may wish to speed up play by directly selecting the right drive and looking to see if its statement applies. Okay, so all of that was
Word salad.
words. Yeah, word salad. It was not cohesive in any point.
Okay,
In
so
the
let's
beginning,
take
I
it.
thought I had it, and then at the end, it lost me.
So let's
The
take the
last
most
paragraph ruined it.
right.
For me.
So let's take the most simple. Okay, you have a skill, and we're going back to the dueling just because it's the easiest to think in the head. So you're dueling, which means that you would use your battle skill. Okay,
Yes.
whether you have a focus in it or not, you have a so
Okay.
you would use your battle skill, right? And then why are you dueling? Are you dueling because you feel it is your duty to protect your house? Are you protecting something about your faith? Are you dueling to protect or are you dueling because of justice? Okay, in that
Okay.
you were selected to be the dueler. Okay, are you trying to do it because you're trying to ascend to power? So as an example, okay, so you have Paul Atreides and you have Freyd, and they're dueling, right?
Yeah.
So
That would be
so
power. In my opinion, that would be power.
well, Fade is doing it for power.
Yes.
I would say that Paul was doing it on faith.
Also, could be justice. The Harkonnen did kill
It
his
could,
father.
yeah, it could be.
argue for
That could
justice.
be as well. So you add you add your drive, you add your skill together, and you get your target number. Okay, that's the basic of this 2d20 system. Is you
Right.
choose the appropriate skill, you choose the appropriate drive, and then you get your target number. Now, the
Now,
game
hang on.
master,
The game
yeah,
master has final ruling in which skill and which drive is being used, depending on how they interpret the situation. But the player can convince or
yes,
adjust the game master's thinking if if and when appropriate.
right, correct. So the if the player has a let's say the player has a duty of 8, right? Then the player can say, well, it's my duty to win this fight for my house.
Right.
But in having a drive of 8 adds a small wrinkle, which is on the next page, and those are drive statements. Okay.
All right. Hang on. Before we get to that,
Yeah.
let's use that example again of Paul Atreides and Fade Harkonnen
Right.
do it during the last duel
Right.
when he takes over when Paul retakes Arrakis, right?
Correct.
Now, obviously, Fade's drive is going to be power because he is now the head of his house. He's now the head of House Harkonnen. The Baron is dead. He's dead. His brother,
The Beast is
by
dead.
this time, is dead. So he is the head of the House Harkonnen, and he has to fight to gain power over to continue to have power over Arrakis. Paul Atreides must die.
Right.
So I'm sure the other people could argue differently, but I would go with he's fighting for power, and I'm sure he has a focus in dueling. So yeah, he's going to be a pretty good role. Now, Paul, you could argue duty, justice, and power in any of these. The reason he's fighting duty, you could argue he's fighting Fade because of duty, because he is the head of House Atreides, and it's his duty to retake Arrakis, and fighting Fade accomplishes that.
Right.
Or justice, House Harkonnen murdered his father. He is now head of the house, and this must be avenged. And as the head of House Harkonnen, defeating him in combat will give my house justice. That could also be argued. Or power. The House Atreides had the crown jewel of the Empire, which is Arrakis, under their control. The Harkonnens took it away. I'm taking it back. House Atreides will now ascend again, and eventually I will become emperor because of it. So he could literally also be fighting for power. Any one of these three could be true. It's up to the player and the game master as the final arbiter to decide which of these drives are going to help him in this fight.
Right. And then you have the small conversation between the player and game master. If you were to use power as an example, then as the game master, I would argue, well, you just became the Kwisatz Haderach, the savior of the people. Your personal power no longer matters. And then you would argue back to me, no, this is the reason why I want to use power.
Yeah,
And
no.
then-
See, I have to avenge my house. I have to get my house status back to marry into to marry the emperor's daughter to be able to take over the empire and become emperor myself. I need these justifications to do that, and that is in the pursuit of power.
Well, then wouldn't that fall under duty? That's just an
Again,
example
yeah,
of
it's a back and forth with the player on that one. I am not a huge fan of that, because that can slow a game down, especially if a player is adamant that I want to use my best stat.
Right, and that's we'll get into that in segment 2, but that is something that I can see heavily abused in this game. But in any 2d20 game, there is a sort of understanding between a player and game master just because of momentum and threat.
Right. Okay, so now we're going to get into drive statements. For each drive with a rating of 6 or higher, just like in skills, you can define a single statement. This is a short sentence explaining what the character feels about that drive. Characters don't have drive statements for their lower tier drives because they don't feel strongly enough about them. Some example drive statements are below. Duty. People are the true strength of a great house. I serve at the pleasure of the house. Humans live best when each has their place. Now, I imagine, just like focuses with skills, drive statements with drives, if you are in pursuit of a drive statement, is that going to affect your die roll?
It will. This is where I was confused earlier. So drive statements lower the difficulty number. Okay. So again, in a 2d20 system, a difficulty number is assigned. So first, the target number is assigned. So let's say the target number is 12. You have to roll. You have to roll at least one success, 12 or less, and you succeed. However, if a task starts to get impossible, then you have to start rolling 2 successes or 3 successes or 4 successes. If for whatever reason you can take your drive statement, okay, and say that, and again going back to the example, if Paul's player, if he said, "My faith gives me certainty where others might doubt," then he can lower the difficulty of the task by 1.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It could be the reason for his fight was actually to build for them to understand that faith in me is not unfounded. I am the Quetzal's Haderach. I am the one who is going to rule, and I will prove it with this fight.
Now, saying that, okay, this is where hello, yeah. Well, hello. This is where you battle those people who want to use their highest stat possible.
Yeah.
Because
this is where it can get really murky.
Because you have to write out a drive. You have to write out a drive statement for your most powerful drive. If that drive statement does not work with that drive, okay, so as an example, let's say justice. Okay, let's say Paul, as the quick stop hacky sack, says that life isn't fair, so I'm going to use the justice statement. Okay, then the game master would go, well, yes, I understand you have an 8 in justice, but how is life unfair in this fight? That doesn't make any sense. You choose another drive. So wait.
When you put it, hang on. If your drive, if you have a drive statement with that drive that doesn't equate to the situation that you're in while rolling that drive, you just don't get to lower the target number. You can still use that drive, right?
You can use that drive, yes.
You just don't get to lower the target number for that specific action involving that drive.
That's right.
Okay, that's fine.
So, but again, it's there to combat that. Well, I'm just going to use this drive for everything,
right?
And now I'm going to try to lower the difficulty number.
Yeah,
you can go against your drive statement.
They did that in Star Trek Adventures as well. You can push against your drive.
Right. So, ambition is your overall. You take one of your drives and you write out a statement that is essentially a long-term drive. Okay. Paul's long-term drive could be that he wished to be the head of his house. Now, over the course of the book and the first movie, that ambition changed as he learned more. Right? But his goal was always to be the head of his house.
Yeah.
And this
Indigo Dragon says, it's weird this game only has you do drive statements for your top 3 rated drives instead of using all 5.
Yeah.
Well, to have a drive statement, your drive has to be a 6 or higher.
Right. And that means that it's important to you and you can use that drive statement.
Right. And anything less than a 6, you are not emotionally invested enough in that drive to get an extra oomph from it.
Right.
Yeah. but ambitions can change your goals, and they can add or take away drive statements.
Correct.
Yes. Oh, hang on. Marlockman's got one here. I guess it's a critical aspect of the setting, but it just felt like the sort of thing that a civilization that has existed for millennia would do. He who controls the spice controls the universe. Okay, but that's a great reason to create an alternative to harvesting Arrakis. That was the monopoly that the Space Guild wanted to keep. They wanted to be the only game in town for FTL space travel, so they made sure that no other alternative ever came up. It's very much like in the early days in the 70s and 80s, the oil companies were buying up alternative energy patents and just putting them on shelves. That's basically it. They wanted to keep the monopoly. And they did. And that's exactly what the Space Guild is doing. Any alternative to spice, they make sure they either hire the assassins to kill that person and destroy the research, or flat out buy out the research and shelve it. Same thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead. So throughout the game, your ambition can add or take away drives.
Right. And I think that's like Star Trek Adventures.
Yeah, they do the same thing there too. Yes.
Yeah. So that is essentially the overview of character creation. Now, you were talking about how to get into the crunchiness of figuring out, well, what's a 6, what's an 8, what's this? This is in the plan.
Character creation. Yeah.
Correct. Just like any other 2D20 system, you go through essentially a life path system in which you assign skills the highest to lowest, and then you assign your drives highest to lowest, and then you work with your game master to come up with drive statements. And each class such as Bene Gesserit or Menhat or
gets
Menhat,
bonuses or minuses, whatever.
correct. And then if you were looking at your whatever your archetype was, like if you were an infiltrator or a messenger, then you have primary skills, secondary skills.
Okay. Yeah. Apparently, you're in your drives. These are what you get, and you like it. 8, 7, 6, 5, and 4. So you only get 3. No, why'd I do that? No. So you only get three drive statements, no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what Indigo was talking about. The drive statement, the 3 highest drives. Some suggestions. Well, you already got that. Yeah. Right. Assets could begin to play with 3 assets, one of which must be tangible. What are assets?
Okay, so assets is, again, it's where the game gets a little abstract. An asset can be you have a knife, or you have a
confidential
blade.
Informant.
So right, but that's a non-tangible asset. So
yes, one of them has to be tangible.
Correct. Or you can have say papers that allow you to basically travel wherever you want. That would be an asset. Or you have an informant. An informant is an asset.
Diplomatic immunity would be an asset.
Correct. You have blackmail on the leader of a major house would be an asset.
Ah, okay.
And this is where things are going to really start to get abstract, because moving assets around, and this is where the game gets a little word salad, is if you have a knife, okay, then that's easy. That's a concept that's easy to understand.
Sure.
Okay, but your assets could be a knife, because there's actually a character in Cara Mollet, who we've been reading about, she actually has her character sheet a little further into the character creation on page 125.
We'll be able to see it.
Her assets are blackmail evidence, concealed knife, and a personal ornithopter. How the character uses those assets is up to the character and the game master. Okay.
They can be lost through gameplay. Obviously.
They can. And then you can gain new assets. Mm-hmm. Or you can create new assets.
Sure.
Okay.
And then after that, finishing touches, trait, ambition, and personal details. Well, apparently we'll get to those. Character has additional bonus trait if you are a faction. If you are Bene Gesserit sister, your additional trait is Bene Gesserit. Your suggested archetypes are these, and mandatory talents are Prana Bindu conditioning. That's your fighting ability.
And talents are
Fremen,
described in the next chapter.
yeah, which of course is described later.
Yeah.
Fremen, mandatory talents, at least one of the following: dedication, driven, master at arms, rapid recovery, resilience, subtle step, which is all again none. They're giving us examples of things they haven't talked about yet, which I hate.
But that's standard Modiphius.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, Modiphius. You can't write a book for shit. Mentat, mandatory talents. Okay, we get the point. Yeah, we get it. Okay, we got it. And the archetype.
Okay, so
Analyst,
if you go,
athlete, commander, courtier,
right.
duelist, empath, envoy. Okay, yeah, got it.
And this will give you your primary skill and your secondary skill. So, and
Right.
those are chosen by your concept. So,
Battle, move, understand, communicate.
right.
Okay.
So, as an example, again, back to the Fremen. The suggested archetypes is either you're an athlete, duelist, infiltrator, etc. And that then gives you those primary and secondary skills.
Yep. Got it. Okay. An archetype provides a single trait representing the character's role or status, which will the archetype's name. You may change or expand this if you wish, something unique and befitting, blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
And then it talks about
right.
These archetypes all follow the code of war in some form. These are War Master archetypes: duelist, tactician, sergeant, warrior. Gives you your trait, primary skill, secondary skill, focuses. Now, this isn't written in stone. This is example.
This is example. I mean, you could but just like in Star Trek, just like in Conan, if you're choosing an archetype, this is what it is. Where your character customization comes in is your drive statements.
Okay.
Okay. So, like, if we were looking at duelist, okay, your trait is duelist. Your primary skill would be battle, which means that would be your highest skill. Okay. Yep. Your secondary skill is move, so that would be the second one. Sure. These are your focuses under those things. Okay. Dueling and short blade. And then your talent is slow blade. Talent is explained later. And then drives. This is where it explains to you, okay, so duelists, particularly those who work as a champion or bodyguard, are often believers that make them right and feel justice is enacted. So it's telling you here, the drives, that, hey, here's some suggested drives. But why are you a duelist? Are you a duelist because of faith? Are you a duelist because of duty? Or
justice or honor or whatever?
Exactly. Yeah, so that's where the fluidity comes in.
Okay, that's where it goes. Okay, got it. All right.
Okay. And then
socialites, commander, envoy. These are Bene Gesserit type stuff or Mentat type stuff. If you're a commander, I suppose it could do that too. Disciples and here's the Mentat stuff: analyst, infiltrator, herald, protector. Oh, that's a security guy. Adepts. Adepts are physical creatures who hate to stay in one place. They like to apply their skills to the real world. They are hard to keep up with and almost impossible to catch. Athlete, messenger, scout, smuggler, academic, empath, spy, scholar, strategist. Okay. Skills. Primary skill list of your archetype is rated at 6. Secondary skill is 5. The other 3 skills are rated at 4. And a skill ranking of 4, as we remember earlier on the chart, is you are not trained in it at all.
Right.
Yeah.
But you could still use it.
Yeah. It's just you're just winging it.
Right.
So Kara's primary skill is communicate, so that's a 6. Her secondary skill is battle, 5. So I put extra point in each of her other 2 skills to bring them up to 5, leaving her with 2 left. While she'd like a better communicate, she decides to balance things out with her combat skills and adds the final 2 points to battle and move. This gives her a battle of 6, communicate of 6, discipline of 5, move of 6, understand of 5. That's pretty good because now she has 3 focuses. Okay. And the most you can start with is an 8, right?
The most, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And the focuses here are in anything that's a 6 or higher, you can pick a focus for. We learned that earlier. Thanks for telling us again. And then there's talents. These are your talent rankings. You like them, you order them how you want, but this is what you get.
Right.
Do you get to add to that, or is
So
that just what you get?
you'll notice that so you have talents. Okay, you start with 3 talents. Okay, and your talents are tied to your drive.
Right.
Okay, so if you have an 8 in a particular drive, then that's the single most important thing to you. Okay,
Right.
so that would be your first, that would be the first talent that you would use.
Yep.
Okay,
You go ahead and keep going. I'll be back in a sec.
you got it. Okay, so then under step 6 is then you start your drive and your drive statements. How you go about choosing these is really up to you and how you feel that your character is playing out. So is your character more duty over faith, as an example? Does it feel a duty to a house or faith to the house? And then you organize them that way. And then you come up with for your highest drives, you come up with your drive statements. Again, drive statements are super, super abstract, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around them. It's one of those things that I have yet to play the game in any capacity other than just passingly play it with a buddy of mine trying to figure out the system. Is that a player can literally put anything that they want as a drive or as a drive statement. Okay, but what you want to do is you want to choose something that you want to choose a drive statement that your character can actually use. You don't want to choose, well, I'm trying to gain more power because I like ice cream. Is not a good drive statement because that will never come up in play. Okay, so you can't come up with something silly. You can't. It has to be tied to the game, and specifically to the adventure. Because if you choose the drive, I want all the spice in the world as your power drive statement, chances are you'll never get to use it.
Yeah, you'll never get to lower a target number in your life.
So,
yeah.
And it's that abstraction that is difficult for my brain to wrap around, where I'm so used to, okay, so this is the skill you have, this is the focus you have, and
okay, this is adding a wrinkle.
Yeah.
The way I understand it, after looking at the book, is that a drive statement is personal to the character, and it's not going to be able to be forced into a situation. It is going to happen organically. Your drive statement will become relevant maybe even by accident, or by playing your character correctly the way you envisioned it. Your drive statement will come up more often than it would if you were not.
Mm-hmm.
So then your target number would go down for some roles, which I understand that. It seems like an added complication for the game master, which I'm not cool with. Margman says, I've dedicated years to becoming the best sniper in the universe. That could be a drive statement.
It could be, but you'd probably never. Well, I mean, unless you were.
Well, no, you would have to be either the shot you're taking as a sniper would have to be in competition to prove you are the best in the universe, or to defend your current title of best in the universe. That's the only time that drive statement would come into play. If no one's watching, your drive statement means nothing.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. So then that drive statement would only be used in those circumstances. Indigo Dragon says, 2 other RPGs used equivalent drive mechanics is the Smallville RPG, which I don't have, but I wanted to get, and how the Burning Wheel uses beliefs and instincts.
Yes. Very much so.
Okay. All right. After much thought, Claire chooses faith 8, duty 7, power 6, truth 5, and justice 4. Kara believes that family and house are the bedrock of success, but that ambition is what drives it. While she is not a liar, she feels truth is too easily manipulated, and justice is rarely found in the Imperium. So she gets to choose 3 drive statements because she has faith of 8, duty of 7, and power of 6. So those are her drive statements.
Right, and then she ranks those according to their importance by the ranking in her drives.
Right.
Now, this becomes important later because she could choose a drive. She could choose a drive for her third rank drive, right? But that third rank drive statement may, in that particular situation, may conflict with her first drive statement, in which case she can use that third drive statement, but she's going to lose that first drive statement.
Oh, okay. So you have to be very... That seems more... okay. All right. We'll talk about that in segment 2.
Yeah.
All right. Way to choose drives. Duty or faith, faith or power, duty or justice. Okay. You want at least one drive statement which is helpful to your character. Drive statements do not have to be positive about the drive they are attached to. They could be negative. Your drive statements can and should change over time. It doesn't matter if your drive statements contradict one another. A person can hold conflicting beliefs. Plurality and the situation those conflicting beliefs clash is often a source of interesting role play and tension in play. A broad range is also good, so you have an option to use a statement on any test. Okay, Claire needs to pick drive statements for Kara's 3 highest drives, which are duty, faith, and power. Remembering Kara's faith in her family and house and her own enlightened self-interest, she chooses I am the heir of my house for duty. My family trusts me for faith, and I get what I want for power. So in roles that apply to her statements and using these drives, she will lower her target number by 1. Like for example, my family trusts me. If you are trying to convince another family member to do something for you, the my family trusts me will lower the difficulty by 1 in convincing a fellow family member to do something.
Correct, but it has to be a faith
affiliated with that drive.
Correct.
Yes.
So
but
you don't get to abuse
it. For faith, my family trusts me is the faith one. So
right.
So it's only for faith roles that when you're talking to another family member or something like that this will come into effect.
Right.
Okay.
Now, what's interesting is, and you can look at this, is I get what I want and my family trusts me. Now, those two, they may look like they're conflicting, but they're not, because you can lie to your family member to get what you want. And your family member is going to trust you or is trusting of you. And so you get what you want, but it's that manipulation. Hey, I'm going to lie to my father. Well, yeah. Why? Because my family trusts me. And I want power. I get what I want. Right.
If I got to lie to do it, I don't care.
Exactly.
My faith statement wasn't, I trust my family. I would never lie to my family. It's my family trusts me. I can lie to them all day.
Right.
And it's not going to conflict with my drive statement.
Correct. Right. If the justice statement was something like I am a truthful person, right, truth above all, and then my family trusts me, and you're lying to your family, you would lose your statement. Justice drive. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like Harkonnen. Anyone can sound like Harkonnen in the wrong light. You know? That's just how it is. Making assets personal. If you can usually obtain a knife or a shield belt if your house is wealthy enough. It may seem pointless to take one as your starting assets. The obvious answer may seem to be that you don't, but it isn't quite as simple as that. You may not want to risk being caught out in a few situations where you can't obtain something you rely on. But beyond preparedness, you still want to have a ubiquitous item as an asset. It could probably be more than a tool or a resource. It should be something personal, something special. This may mean that the item takes an unusual form. It's exceptionally effective or well crafted, or it has some significant and personal history behind it. You don't merely own a knife, you own a Christ knife, or you proudly bear the knife the Duke gave you after the Battle of Axion, or you carry a poisoned knife. Such an item works as a normal knife would, though it might have a higher quality. But the item's history may also make it useful in other situations. A Chris knife is sacred amongst the Fremen, and bearing one may grant a wielder an advantage in social conflicts with desert-dwelling warriors. A knife that was a gift might represent a special bond between characters. In this case, the extra detail given to an asset reveals details about the character's background that can be explored in play. Okay, so what it's saying, for as an example, let's say that you did a favor to someone of another house. And in doing so, this house member gave you a ceremonial dagger. The next time you see this person, you are in your dress, outfit. You are all regaliaed up, and you are carrying that weapon, visibly, so everyone can see it. Mm-hmm. That means in social interaction with the person who gave you that gift, maybe your target number be one less.
Right.
Because you are honoring that person by carrying ceremonially the gift that they gave you. I get that.
Right. And in situations like, again, so Kara, who is, say, carrying this knife, so she is an artist. It was given to her by a great duke. The house does not allow any weapons within the house. Okay. But she's going to say, well, this gift was given to me by your house leader. Okay, well, come on through. Well, now she has the asset that she needs to carry out the assassination.
Right. Yeah. I mean, personally, I'd want to smuggle a weapon that no one knows I have, but all right, whatever.
Right. But yeah, I mean, it was just an example.
Yeah, it was good. Okay, finishing touches. Trait. Select one additional trait for your character, reflecting the character's reputation and how they are regarded by others. These do not necessarily have to be accurate descriptions of who the character is, only how others perceive them. A character may seek to cultivate a reputation distinct from who they actually are. Example, Claire decides that Kara's dedication to power needs to be tempered a little and decides that honorable should be her reputation trait. Okay. All right. This one is way into player agency field. This is
I told you.
This is player agency ground all the way. This is where player agency lives. But what I would personally do with this is I would work it like Old World of Darkness. I don't know if you remember Old World of Darkness. You had two different personalities. You had your real personality and the personality that you projected to other people. Mm-hmm. Only when you followed your real personality trait, you gained willpower back, usable willpower back, because now you feel better about yourself. But you still must project your fake personality. Mm-hmm. And I would make them choose the two, whatever. But yeah, I get this. It adds flavor to your character. But what is it actually? Is there a tangible benefit?
There is. So traits get you back. Later, there is a, much like momentum. You have momentum, you have threat, and then you have what is it? It's I know it is what is? Oh shoot! I'm forgetting what it is, because unfortunately it's called different things in each
D20 system.
Each D20. Yeah, exactly. So determination. That's it.
Okay. All right. Ambition. Each player character has an ambition which guides their long-term actions. Character takes steps to achieve their ambitions will become more capable, more influential, and generally more effective. During character creation, your character's ambition should be based on their highest rated drive, and your game master will work with you to define one for your character, helping to create something which can come up and play frequently. This ambition may change over time as the character's drives shift. And it gives examples for duty, faith, justice, power, and truth. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Makes sense. I really don't have a problem with that. And personal details: name, height, weight, hair color, whatever. Yeah. Personality, relationships. All of this is, normal stuff. And here we have Kara, a commander. Drive 7, duty faith, duty 7, faith 8, justice 4, power 6, truth 5 skills. Okay. Short blaze, diplomacy, inspiration, stealth, talents, hyper awareness. They haven't even listed talents yet.
No.
Masterful innuendo and Piranha Bindu conditioning. Obviously, you were taught by a Bene Gesserit. Yep. Kara was sent to the Bene Gesserit for training as the eldest daughter of House Mole. As much of her edification is keep her out of the way. Blah blah. Okay, good. That's fine. Starting assets: blackmail evidence, concealable knife, and personal ornithopter. Okay. And now we finally get to what talents are.
Right.
Okay. Adrenaline shot. Now these talents are more like what? Powers?
Yeah, they're abilities. And powers.
They're special abilities. Yeah.
Right.
Adrenaline shot. It's a doctor talent. By using this action, a character can remove the effects of any physical complication from the character who is in the same zone. This is like okay. It's like, no, here's some meth. I feel better. Of course you do. It's meth.
Right.
I get it. Right. Binding promise. When you succeed at a communicate test to persuade someone to agree to a promise or agreement, you may spend 1, 2, or 3 points of momentum to make that agreement binding. If the person wishes to break the promise, they must spend threat equal to twice the momentum you spent. Okay, so
if you're doing that between 2 players, then that means they have to add threat to the game master pool.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Bold, cool under pressure. We don't really need to go over these. These are just
these.
Yeah. You get how many do you get? It said 3.
So right, and those are listed under your archetype.
Right.
So they're
your
sort of
list of choices of these things are under your archetype.
Yeah.
Like obviously, this is a Fremen talent. Only Fremen can take it.
Mm-hmm. And they're sort of set in stone.
Talent, only they can take it. But performer, it doesn't have prerequisite. So more people than just an artist.
Well,
can take it.
Right, and that will all be listed under your actual archetype as to what can be taken and what couldn't.
Exactly. Yes. But anything that has the parenthetical means that you have to be a Mentat to take this. You have to be a Bene Gesserit to take this.
Right.
Stuff like that. Okay. And then there's the creation and play. This is the one where you start off bare bones, and then throughout your choices, throughout the first couple of game sessions, you actually finish making your character.
Right.